He was in every leadership possible that he can possibly be, and he was the international president in 1976, and he got his first DTM in 1975, which is a long time ago. Now, I won't read everything that you've done, Bob, but I think you're absolutely amazing, and I would love to hear you give your ice breakout, which will be evaluated by, here we go, by speech one. Oh, another new person who has stepped up to the plate today, Godalis, but I will introduce her later. I will let you give your speech now. Thank you very much. Godalis, would you like to come forward so we can see that you're listening to Bob's speech?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Because it's always better to give a speech when you've got a couple of people listening to you rather than just doing it to the screen. Thank you, Bob. Oh, thank you, Graham, for coming forward too. The stage is yours, Bob. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster and my fellow Toastmasters. We're going to take a trip today covering 70 years of my life in 6 minutes. That's not a fabricated story. If you'll walk with me, maybe you can keep track of how many times I point out a year that will collect that. That's actually 30 years, excuse me. As a young man in Ogden, Utah, where I grew up, I cleaned my grandfather's horse stables. But I did grow up and go to school. And in 1942, when I was finishing my 3rd year of college at Utah State, I joined the United States United States Marine Corps Officer Candidate Program and went on active duty on 1st of July of that year. Now, through the courtesy of the warlords in Japan, I spent World War II in the Pacific. My last combat was on Iwo Jima. But in 1946, I was out as a civilian, and I went to the University of California in Berkeley to finish my undergraduate degree as a landscape architect in city planning. I moved to Washington, D.C. in 1952 and took a job with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as the Director of Logistics. We had 65 field offices on water resources and construction management, and my staff and I had to ensure that the logistics support for those missions were there. So I traveled. 50% of my time I was on the road. I was in every state in the United States, in Europe, in Great Britain, in Italy, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Philippines, South Africa. Those are just a few places I made stops. Well, along that way, I had a wife, a very pleasant wife. We raised 2 children, 1 boy and 1 girl. Both of them have families, and they've given me great grandchildren, 3 boys and 1 girl, all under the age of 5. My greatest interest right now is my granddaughter. She's a Toastmaster, works with the Bank of America in Charlotte, North Carolina, and received her DTM 3 weeks ago. Very proud of her. Well, we wanted to thank you. I appreciate that clock. It's good to have somebody in the family follow it. Now, I started in Toastmasters in 1958, actually in October. And I've served on the board of directors and been in almost every function there is. But the interesting thing is, I worked my way down. From club president to international president in 1976. Well, during my scattering time around the world, I attended over 2,000 club meetings and therefore had a good feel for what we do. A couple things I think are important. First one is I led the battle to get the bylaws changed to allow women to join Toastmasters. We had them for a number of years, but they were not legitimate, and we had them hidden under men's names and initials and things of this sort. I was able to get that done in 1973. That might be a basis for a story later on. I participated in setting up a reserve fund for the organization. When I found we were not able to pay our world headquarters staff, now we're a multi-million-dollar operation. Here's the organization chart. A long time. The organization chart showed us with the president on top and the club at the bottom. I thought that was the wrong message. It took me a number of years to get the change made, but finally did, and we ended up with a service chart that has now been modified a number of times, but it shows, in effect, the club on top and the international president on the bottom in a support role, which I think is the right message. Well, I'm still involved in advisory work with the board and with the world headquarters, and so I'm not out of that part of the organization, but I've been lost out of the Toastmaster club operation for over 3 years. How fortunate I think I've been. Survived 2 wars, was able to raise a good family, but I spent 58 years helping people achieve Dr. Spendley's dream. Well, 70 years and 6 minutes, maybe I did it in less, but it's been a great day, and I thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Philip. That was pretty amazing to sum up all those years in 6 minutes. In fact, it was less. It was more like 5 minutes. Well done. The red come up now, so we're exactly on time. Lots of Toastmaster experience there. You know exactly how to do it. Thank you very, very much. Right, our next speaker is Bruce Page, who for a while there seemed to be doing all the jobs, but we managed to get you out of the evaluation, Bruce, and put you into just doing the speech. Thank you very much. I didn't actually hear back from you, I don't think, or did I, about how much. So many bits of paper here. No, I didn't hear back from you about your Star Wars involvement. Are you a fan or are you not?
Well, a fan, a bit of an understatement. I've seen all 9 episodes 3 times, and I can recite quite a bit of the. Yeah, no, I love it. We're going to have to convince Geneva and people to come and watch it.
Yes, well, my daughter's got all the movies, and one of these days I'm going to sit down and watch the whole lot, but I've only watched the first 2. Anyway, getting right along. Bruce is doing number 6 in the CC manual, vocal variety, and his speech is called Digging Deep, and he is going to be evaluated by our dear Brian, who stepped up to slate at the last minute too, which was wonderful. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Bruce. Would you like to tell us how you are digging deep? Thank you.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, in about a third of the way up Africa, where South Africa, Botswana, and Zimbabwe all come together, there's a river called the Limpopo River. About 30 years ago, I lived in Botswana, and the border post, right almost on the international border between Botswana and Zimbabwe, is called Pontrift. It's called Pontrift because there used to be a pond there, and that was washed away. And now the only way of getting across the river is by cable car. But the cable car can only work when the river is not too full. So for about 8 months of the year, you could drive across the river. But for something, the remainder, when it's full, you have to have 2 cars. The nearest shopping is in South Africa, 250 kilometers away. So people living in Botswana will leave a car on one side of the border and either take the cable car across, get their other car and go off shopping, then come back. When it's very full, however, you've got to row across in a canoe. So people that live there not only have 2 cars, they also have their own canoe. Now, on the particular occasion that my story involves, I've been away shopping. And when you go shopping in a remote area like that, you do shopping for everybody. So you bring in all of the fresh produce for all of your neighbors and so on as well. So it's quite an affair. You go away for 3 days. And I arrived back about lunchtime. The border closes at 4 o'clock. The river on this occasion was in full flood. In fact, a very, very high flood. And when I arrived there, some kind soul had taken my canoe and taken himself across to the other side. So the cable cars were not working, no way for me to get across. But I had a whole lot of fresh produce in my motor car that needed to get into fridges and all of those sorts of things. So there was no real choice. I kind of had to swim across. Now, I'm a fairly powerful swimmer. I've swum all my life. I'm not unfamiliar. I learned to swim in rivers, so there's nothing really strange in that. Now, I looked at the river carefully and thought, well, it didn't appear to be flowing in full flood, the new flood where there were branches and all of those kinds of things coming down. It appeared to be flowing quite steadily and smoothly. What was a problem is that it was already so high that it was flowing through the canopies of the acacia trees on either bank. So it was fairly wide. So I thought if I walked a kilometer or so upstream, I could get into the water there and then get out where the road came out on the other side of the river. I did this, got into the river and started swimming. I'd taken my shirt off before and I'd put my shoes into my trousers because in the other bank there were a lot of thorns. Now, what I hadn't realized is that the river a little way upstream was twice the width at the point where I was swimming across. So there was a sudden current that I was swimming into. And by the time I got into the middle of the river, I suddenly realized that I was in big trouble. So I started thinking to myself that perhaps I needed to ditch my shoes, which was the first thing that I got rid of, and started swimming very, very hard. And did what most people do when they get into that situation. I just tried harder and harder and harder, but realized I was getting nowhere. And at that point, I heard my father's voice when I was a young lad telling me that if you get into difficulty in water, don't fight it. Relax. Think about the situation, assess what you're going to do, and work out a solution. This is what I did. Relaxed a little bit, drifted down the river, and eventually was able to swim out and get out of the river about 3 kilometers downstream from where I'd intended getting out. The problem is I now had no shoes with a lot of thorns on the other side of the river. Anyway, I solved that problem by tearing up my shorts. There were no people around, so I didn't mind walking stark naked through the bush. And I got a few pieces of bark to put under my feet because there are a lot of elephants in the area, so I put bark under my feet, used the strapping. And to cut a long story short, eventually got back to my motor car, where I fortunately had a spare pair of trousers, got my canoe, got everything across. But the thing that I really thought about a lot was what lesson I'd learned from that little affair. Because when you live on your own, it's a good idea not to do stupid things. Small mistakes can get you into a lot of trouble. So I spent a while thinking about what I'd done and how many mistakes I'd made. And then I came up with 3 things that have guided me through my life. The one was, never assume that you know what the situation is like. I hadn't looked at that river properly and looked at what it was like upstream and downstream and tested the currents. And because I was tired, I just jumped into the water without thinking. The second thing I did wrong was that when I found that I needed to dig deep, what I did was, instead of stopping, assessing, changing plans, and re-implementing things, I did exactly what everybody does, and that's just dig deeper. Sometimes when you're digging a hole, you need to stop and ask yourself whether you need the hole going in the direction or that it's going in, or whether perhaps you should be doing something else. The third thing I did wrong was to not have an escape plan. I hadn't thought what I would do if I actually got into trouble in that water. Those three guidelines are things that have helped me through my life. Never assume that you know what the situation is. When you find that you're in trouble, stop, assess, change your plans, and implement the new plans if they need to be implemented. Thirdly, have an escape plan. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Bruce. That was an exciting journey. I presume this was in the days before cell phones. Because nowadays we would just bring up the person on the other side and say, please bring my canoe back.
Long before cell phones, yes.
Right, thank you, Bruce. And you kept to the time so we didn't see Arlene's surprise. I want somebody to go overtime so we can see Arlene's surprise. Right, moving right along here, we have Julie, who is going to take us on another little look at pathways, which we're all getting very excited about. And Julie is not an actual Star Wars fan either, but she has had the great privilege of going to a Microsoft party with people like Steve Wozniak and Jobs and all the pioneers of Apple, which would be much more exciting, I think. And it was a Star Wars themed party, so she knows all about Star Wars from that perspective. So today, Julie is going to talk to us about transitions and pathways. She's taking it from the CC Manual Research Your Topic, and she would like an extra minute, please, Arlene, at the end for further discussion. Thank you, Julie. Take it away.
Pathways is arriving. Some told me, why couldn't remain like we are? Why do we have to change? And others told me, how can I begin? I want already to begin. Those two polarized ways of thinking are normal in any transition. I have this book, which I studied again. This is Transition by William Bridge. And after the speech, I can write the name in the chat box. And he speaks a lot about the things which arrive in a transition. First comes an end, he says. We all mourn the end. Is there a problem?
No, it's fine.
Okay. So, why we mourn the end? Because we are used to it. We are used to situation. We know everything about what was. So, some regret it more, some less. But we all think with nostalgia of what was. And then comes a neutral period of fog, where we don't know what it will be. We remember what was, we don't know where we are really, and we are lost somehow. But that period can be very fruitful, and that leads to the third period, this finally the new beginning, which we have to get used to, as much as if we wanted it even. It is Bud Johnson who, when international president, decided that we have to revitalize the education program which Toastmaster had, and it's a long way until we arrived to today, when already two districts try out in a pilot state only for the moment the pathways. But some of us, early adopters, let's say, wanted already to be there. And one of them was Brian, who was very much speaking about it already when we didn't know much, and showing about it. And he found someone who is called Matthew, who found a club which accepted online presence in the second pilot district. And we went there and they accepted us, both him and me. I was pathway ambassador for 1.5 years already. But let's tell you something. I didn't know much about it. I told them it is wonderful. I told my clubs it will be coming and we will be able to use more computers and choose our ways, but more or less that was all I knew about it. Until I put my hand on a pathways 5 weeks ago. So 5 weeks ago I began, and in 5 weeks I have completed my 5 tasks, which is in the level 1. And now I am supposed to have finished the level 1. VP already put me in Club Central, and I am somewhere there, but I not in my Toastmaster record yet. So the first task is an icebreaker. And really, the new program got my creative juice flowing. And thank you, Bob, for helping us to get into Toastmasters. I have begun Toastmaster in 1977 and went to Washington, D.C., near Washington, D.C. Monument Toastmasters, where I was a single woman and many men. Unhappily, they were all married and well married. So they were not for me. That was my icebreaker. More or less, I have given at Firebirds. And then a second task, it is really called feedback. It is in really 3 tasks. You have to tell a story, a speech, listen to evaluation, incorporate it, and then give it better again. And I did it in 3 times in different clubs. Witty Storytellers got my first one, which was a little bit improvised, and Firebirds got my second one, about which was a lot better. And then I could really evaluate, understanding a lot better what it is evaluation for and how it can be used. Now, I got a wonderful realization. In fact, all of Firebirds, or many of us, already use the way of the pathway. We do repeat, remember Samir, remember Lauren, remember Dieneba and others who gave twice already the same speech better and better, even 3 times some. And we got better and better, and we do research So, yes, we are already there. Now, that is one thing you can do to feel like you are in the pathway already, to repeat the same speech. And the second is to try the icebreaker, which is free on Toastmaster International site. And so you can have a feeling how it is. A third is to do like us, find a club who in a district which a pilot is, but no, it is a pilot. It is in construction. So you have to bear with the small problems they still have somehow. And the real thing also would be, because to celebrate my finishing the level 1, I opened a blog which is called Pathway Experience. And every day I write something about it. So you can follow it also. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. I find that really interesting because I have never done a speech more than once, because I do it mostly off the top of my head. So when I would never really do it again. Though the speech I'm doing next week is one that I'm sort of repeating, but it's different. Anyway, we will